ሰላም ጤና ይስጥልኝ። ይህ ሂስቶሪካል ኤጁኬሽን ወይም ደግሞ የታሪክ ትምህርት የሚል ዩቲዩብ ቻናል ነው። በዚህ ዩቲዩብ ቻናል በዋነኝነት ከ9ኛ ክፍል እስከ 12ኛ ክፍል የታሪክ ትምህርት ወይም ሂስትሪ የሚተላለፍበት ነው። ስሜ ሽመልስ መስፍን ይባላል። በዚህ ዩቲዩብ ቻናል ማንኛውንም ከ9ኛ ክፍል ጀምሮ እስከ 12ኛ ክፍል ያሉ ተማሪዎች ታሪክን ለማወቅ የተሻለ ድጋፍ የምሰጥበት ዩቲዩብ ቻናል ነው። የዚህን ዩቲዩብ ቻናል ሰብስክራይብ በማድረግ ልትጠቀሙ ትችላላችሁ። ተማሪዎች ብቻ ሳትሆኑ ሌሎች ታሪክን ማወቅ ፍላጎት ያላችሁ ማንኛውም ሰው ሰብስክራይብ በማድረግ ሊጠቀም ይችላል ማለት ነው። ሰብስክራይብ ማድረጉ ሁሌም ይህን ቪዲዮ በመለቅበት ሰዓት ሊደርሳችሁ እንዲችል ነው ማለት ነው። ስለዚህ ለዛሬ ለመጀመሪያ ያክል ከ9ኛ ክፍል ዩኒት 1 በጥቂቱ ለ10 ደቂቃ ያክል አንዳንድ ነገሮችን አስተምራለሁ ማለት ነው። ነገር ግን ሌሎች የምትፈልጓቸው ቶፒኮች ወይም ደግሞ ርዕሰ ጉዳዮች ማወቅ ለምትፈልጉት ርዕሰ ጉዳይ ላይ ማብራሪያ የምትፈልጉ ተማሪዎች ካላችሁ እንደ ሁኔታው በዩኒት ቅደም ተከተል ላልሄድ እችላለሁ ማለት ነው። አልፎ አልፎ እንደ ተመልካቾች ፍላጎት የተለያዩ ርዕሰ ጉዳዮች ላይ ሰፊ የማብራሪያ ወይም ትንታኔ ልሰጥ እችላለሁ ማለት ነው። ስለዚህ ዛሬ ለመጀመሪያ ያክል ለ9ኛ ክፍል መጽሐፍ የሂስትሪ መጽሐፍ ዩኒት 1 early human beings, the Neolithic revolution and the emergence of state የሚለውን እንጀምራለን ማለት ነው። በዚህ ምዕራፍ በዋነኝነት 3 ዋና ዋና ርዕሰ ጉዳዮችን የያዘ ነው ማለት ነው። ይሄም early human beings በዚህ ርዕሰ ጉዳይ we will discuss about the two major theories concerning about the origin of human beings in this world. That's the creationist view and that of the scientific view. We will discuss in detail about these two major theories. And the second one is the Neolithic revolution. This is an outstanding or the turning point in the history of the world that human beings, started civilization after domestication of plants and animals. Farming was started and humans' permanent settlement begins during this time. So it's said to be the turning point in humankind history. So እሱን ነገር እናያለን። በዚህ በኒዮሊቲክ ሪቮሉሽን የድንጋይ ዘመን እናያለን ማለት ነው። እንግዲህ ኒዮሊቲክ ሲል ኒው ስቶን ኤጅ ማለት ነው። ስቶን ኤጅ ወይም ደግሞ የድንጋይ ዘመን በሶስት ዋና ዋና ክፍሎች ከፍለን እናያለን ማለት ነው። እነዚህም the Paleolithic, Mesolithic and the New Stone Age ወይም ኒዮሊቲክ ብለን በሶስት ከፍለን የምናይበት እና በእነዚህ ሶስት የድንጋይ ዘመናት የሰው ልጅ በዚህ ምድር ላይ ምን ዋና ዋና ነገሮችን አከናውኗል የሚለውን ነገርም እናያለን ማለት ነው። ቀጣይ ሶስተኛው the emergence of state, how states emerged in this world, because before the emergence of states, human beings were wandering here and there for the purpose of, searching food by hunting wild animals and that of fields. So there was no permanent settlement or sedentary life before the establishment of, the Neolithic revolution in our world. Therefore እሱን የምናየው ምንድነው ስቴት ፎርሜሽን በዓለማችን ሀገር የምንለው ነገር እንዴት መጣ። የተለያዩ መላምንቶች አሉ። ከነዚህ መላምንቶች መካከል 1 3 4ቱን ጠቅሰን ለማየት እንሞክራለን። ምክንያቱም ለዘመናት በሚሊዮን የሚቆጠር ዘመን ሳይንስ እንደሚነግረን የሰው ልጅ ምግቡን በማደንና በመልቀም ወደ ተለያየ ቦታ እየተንቀሳቀሰ እንደኖረ በዘፈቀደ እንደኖረ ልክ እንደ እንስሳ አይነት የኑሮ ሂደት እንደኖረ ያስረዳናል። ከብዙ ሚሊዮን ዓመት በኋላ የሰው ልጅ በአንድ አካባቢ ለዘለቄታው መኖር እንዴት እንደጀመረ እና the villages and gradually after the establishment of the creation of communities gradually states were emerged. በዚህም በተመለከተ በሰፊው የተወሰኑ መላምቶችን እናያለን ማለት ነው። But to begin, the first topic of this unit talks about what history is, because this is the beginning of high school history education. So, of course, this is not new for you because you learned historical issues from the lower class, that is the social study. But in this high school class, part of history is delivered in this subject, history. So let's briefly know about what history is. So history as a discipline or as a subject, it was it is an old discipline and said to be the queen of social science. And it has not one definite and commonly agreed definition, because different historians define history in different ways, but most of them agree that history, as you know, is a branch of social science which deals more about the past, but it gives us a brief understanding about the present and about the future, because by understanding or knowing the past by the mirror of history, we also understand the trend that generations emerged in different walks of life, particularly in social, economic, political, cultural, and other walks of life. So by understanding that issues, we can also predict or foresee what kind of developments in the future human beings will face. We can predict this. In history, there are three connections: that the past, the present, and that of the future. So that is the commonly agreed definition of history in accordance with most of the historians' definition. So the question is, what is the importance of learning history? Learning history has a number of importances. There is one saying that according to Cicero, those who do not know about history, they are condemned to repeat it, which means history is very important. It's very crucial to not repeat the mistakes that were done by our granddads or our forefathers, because in the past human beings were evolved, developed by doing different mistakes in social, economic, political, and other features of walks of life of human being. Therefore, in order to not repeat the mistakes of the past, it's important to know and learn the history of our ancestors. So that is the main point, or the main importance of learning history. In addition to this, it helps us to have broad understanding about the past, the present, and this understanding is related with the global or international issues or the national issues. There are different historical events internationally and nationally. So it gives us broad understanding about the national and international historical issues. The other one is it helps us to have to develop the skill in a sense, the skill of gathering different data or evidences, because without evidence we cannot reconstruct or write historical issues. So evidences or sources are very important. So it is a skill. It develops our skill, how to gather information from different sources, and after gathering the different sources, we have to analyze it in order to check its authenticity or its genuinity, because every evidence or information may not be fact or genuine. So we have to cross-check it, or have to triangulate the sources that we gain from different the evidences from different sources. So it helps us to gather data, to analyze, to develop the skill to gather data, analyze, and that of reaching at conclusions. Because after analyzing and checking its authenticity, finally we can reconstruct or write history in readable and simple as well as objective manner. So this is the other importance of learning history. And in addition to this, history can be historical events can be divided into two. That is a period of history and that of prehistory. The prehistory historical issues are those historical episodes or historical events before human beings developed the art of writing. እንግዲህ የሰው ልጅ ጽሁፍ ከመጀመሩ በፊት እንግዲህ የሰው ልጅ ጽሁፍ ጀምሯል ተብሎ የሚታሰበው at about 5000 BP or before present አካባቢ እንደሆነ ይታሰባል። ከዛ በፊት የሰው ልጅ ጽሁፍን መጻፍ ታሪኩን መከተብ ማስቀመጥ አልቻለም ነበር ማለት ነው። So before 5000 BP the historical events is said to be prehistory or prehistorical issues. ቅድመ ታሪክ እንደማለት ነው። When we add prefix pre on the word this history. And history is those historical issues after human society developed the art of writing. So what's the difference between history and prehistory? It's the matter of the beginning of writing. History is after the beginning of writing, and prehistory is before the beginning of writing. And in relation with history, is an important field or science or a subject which is known as archaeology, which is important to learn or know about the prehistorical issues. Those prehistorical issues before human beings started writing, there were historical issues. So history is all over the world after the creation of human society in this world at large. And those historical events before the beginning of writing, so studied by archaeologists and paleoanthropologists, of course. So archaeology is a science which digs out material objects and fossils from the crust of the earth to identify and know historical issues before the beginning of writing. Of course, even after the beginning of writing, this archaeology is very important to reconstruct history. And the other one is sources of history. If we want to write history, we have to have different genuine or factual in our sources. So these sources can be divided into two, mainly into two. These are primary sources and secondary sources. Those primary sources are original materials which have direct relations with the event they describe. ታሪካዊ የሚገልጹትን ታሪክ በቀጥታ ግንኙነት ያላቸው ኦሪጂናል የሆኑ ማቴሪያሎች ከሆኑ ፕራይመሪ ሶርስስ እንላቸዋለን። በሰከንድ ሃንድ ከሆኑ ደግሞ ወይም ደግሞ those secondary sources which have not direct relations with the event they describe እንደዚህ አይነት መረጃ ምንጮች ከሆኑ ደግሞ ሰከንደሪ እንላቸዋለን ማለት ነው። ሰከንደሪ ሶርስስ ሁለቱም የማይናቅ ሚና አላቸው ታሪክን ለማጥናት ታሪክን ለመከተብ ሁለቱም ከፍተኛ ሚና ያላቸው ናቸው ማለት ነው። of course primary sources are more reliable than secondary sources ይበልጥ አስተማማኝ ናቸው። of course we have to cautiously interpret even the primary sources as well እነሱም በጥንቃቄ መመርመር ያለባቸው ሆነው ግን ከሰከንደሪ ሶርስ የበለጠ አስተማማኝ እንደሆኑ መገንዘብ ያስፈልጋል ማለት ነው። ስለዚህ ታሪክን ስንጽፍ ሁሌም ቢሆን መረጃዎችን ማጠናከር ያስፈልጋል ማለት ነው። otherwise those written materials without evidence could be fictions, without evidence. So what are the examples of these primary and secondary sources? Let's see that. Primary sources, since they are the original materials, we can mention some of the examples like coins, inscriptions, like letters, different documents, and obelisks. Particularly Ethiopia is a very historical country. There are a number of primary sources, particularly in the northern part of our country. We will discuss, of course, that. In secondary sources, at second hand, they are not original materials, of course. Therefore, we can mention some of examples, for instance, history books, novels, plays, እነዚህ በልቦለድ መልክ የተጻፉ ፊክሽኖችን እንወስድ እንችላለን። እነዚህ ሰከንድ ሃንድ ስለሆኑ ሰከንደሪ ሶርስስ እንላቸዋለን። ሌላው ጀነራል ሶርስ ኦፍ ሂስትሪ ኢን ኢትዮጵያ in the context of Ethiopia, the source of history from primary and secondary, we can mention some of them as an example. For instance, as I told you earlier, Ethiopia is a historical country, so we can mention some primary sources like fossils, since Ethiopia is the cradle of human being. የሰው ልጅ መገኛ ስለሆነች የታሪክ አጥኚዎች፣ አርኪኦሎጂስቶች፣ ፓሊያንትሮፖሎጂስቶች ኢትዮጵያ ውስጥ ለዘመናት በሚሊዮን ዓመት በፊት የነበሩ ቅሬታ አካሎችን መመርመር ያስፈልጋል ማለት ነው። በዚህም ብዙ ጥናትና ምርምር ተደርጓል፣ እየተደረገም ያለበት ሁኔታ ነው ማለት ነው። ስለዚህ fossils are very important to know about Ethiopian history. As you know, Ethiopia is the cradle of human being after the discovery of Lucy or Dinkenesh at Hadar in Afar in 1974, which accounts as 3.18 million years ago. So scientists, particularly the archaeologists and paleoanthropologists, call Lucy as the ancestor of human beings. And the other one is ruins of buildings. እንግዲህ በጥንት ጊዜ የነበሩ ህንፃዎች በተለይም ደግሞ በአክሱም አካባቢ የነበሩ ቤተ መንግስቶች፣ የቤተ መንግስት ፍርስራሾች፣ የቤተ አምልኮ ግንብ ፍርስራሾች ruins of buildings የሚላቸው እነሱን ነው። and inscriptions በድንጋይ ላይ የተጻፉ በተለይ በአክሱም አካባቢ በሳቢያን ቋንቋ፣ በግሪክ ቋንቋ እንዲሁም ደግሞ በግዕዝ ቋንቋ የተጻፉ መዛግብትን ማየት እንችላለን። chronicles from primary sources እነሱም የማይናቅ ሚና አላቸው። በተለይ በኢትዮጵያ ለዘመናት ብዙ ነገስታት መዋለ ዜና ጸሐፊያን ነበሯቸው። እነዚህ ጽሁፎች መዋለ ዜና እንላቸዋለን ወይም ክሮኒክልስ እንላቸዋለን። ጸሐፊዎቹ ክሮኒክለርስ እንላቸዋለን። ምንም እንኳን የተወሰነ ግነት ቢበዛበትም እንደ ታሪክ ምንጭ የማይናቅ ሚና አላቸው ማለት ነው። ሌላው different documents, particularly letters which were written by the Ethiopian kings, different kings. እነዚህ ሊመረመሩ የሚገቡ ናቸው ማለት ነው። በስፋት ኢትዮጵያን ታሪክ ለማወቅ ማለት ነው። From secondary sources, there are different books written by the foreign historians, and recently there are a number of scholars in history, archaeology, paleoanthropology in Ethiopia. Even there are some doctors and that of professors who are acquainted in these fields. So those historians wrote different books. You can see and read voraciously more about Ethiopian history written by foreign and domestic scholars. And the other one is dating in history. Dating in history. dating in history የሚለው እንግዲህ ሁሌም ታሪክ የሚፈጸመው በጊዜ ውስጥ ነው። In history always there are these things, time, space or place, and the actors of historical events. እንግዲህ ሰዎች አሉ፣ የታሪክ ተዋናዮች ይኖራሉ። ታሪክ የሚከናወነው ያው በጊዜ ውስጥ ነው፣ ቦታም እንደዚሁ ማለት ነው። እነዚህ ነገሮች ሁሌም የሚኖሩ ናቸው ማለት ነው። ታሪክ ስንናገር ታሪክን ስናጠና ማለት ነው። So we express the duration of events in time by using what different units. These units are decade, century, and that of millennium. A decade is a period of 10 years, and century is a period of 100 years, and millennium is a period of 1,000 years. These are the units to express the duration of events in time. እንግዲህ ብዙ ጊዜ ይሄን ያህል ዴኬድ፣ ይሄን ያህል ሴንቸሪ፣ ይሄን ያህል ሚሊኒየም እያልን እናወራለን። ዩኒቶች ናቸው ማለት ነው። ጊዜን ለማጥቀስ የሚጠቅሙ ናቸው። ሌላው chronology. When you talk about history, there is chronology. This chronology refers the sequence of events in time. When you write history, we have no forget to put historical events in their chronological order. ልክ እንደ ከጥንት ወደ ቅርብ እየመጣን ነው ማለት ነው የምናስቀምጠው። አዘብራርቀን ማስቀመጥ የለብንም ማለት ነው። ክሮኖሎጂ የሚለው ለምሳሌ ያክል we can take best example of the Ethiopian history from the modern time, which was started from Kasa Haile, or the later Theodorus II. ከቴዎድሮስ በኋላ ማን መጣ? ቴዎድሮስ after he committed suicide at መቅደላ ተክለ ጊዮርጊስ ለ3 ዓመት ነገሰ። ከተክለ ጊዮርጊስ በኋላ ማን መጣ? ዮሐንስ was after Yohannes that of Menilik the second. And after Menilik there was no offspring to take the throne from Menilik, because Menilik are not male son to take the throne. So የልጅ ልጁ የነገሰ ነው ማለት ነው። So the grandson of Menilik, whose name is called ኢያሱ, ልጅ ኢያሱ የሚባለው ማለት ነው። After ልጅ ኢያሱ there was a diarchy. After the ልጅ ኢያሱ was thrown from power, there was diarchy from 1916 up to 1930 for almost 14 consecutive years. የዘውዲቱና የራስ ተፈሪ አስተዳደር እናስታውሳለን። ከዚያ ከራስ ተፈሪና ዘውዲቱ አስተዳደር ዘውዲቱ ካረፈች በኋላ ራስ ተፈሪ came to power by the name ኃይለ ሥላሴ the first. So ከዲያርኪ ኢምፐረር ኃይለ ሥላሴ እናስታውሳለን ማለት ነው። From 1930 up to 1974 in European calendar. After Emperor ኃይለ ሥላሴ, the Derg regime took power, and after the Derg the FDR government. አሁን በምን አስቀመጡት ማለት ነው? በክሮኖሎጂ አስቀመጡት ማለት ነው። So historical events should be written in this manner, from the earlier to the recent. That is known as chronology. And the other one is calendars, which helps us to put events in time chronology. In time chronology, of course, nowadays our world use mostly the Gregorian calendar, and there are two calendars, of course. By the way, these two calendars, Gregorian Islamic calendars, are not the only calendars in our world. During the antiquities, in the ancient time, different countries formulated their own calendars, but the famous calendars in our world are the Gregorian and that of Islamic calendars. This Gregorian calendar, which was formulated by Saint Gregory, it counts time forward and backward by using the historical basis of the birth of Jesus Christ, before the birth of Jesus and that of after the birth of Jesus, which is known as AD and BC. Before the birth of Jesus it's called BC, that is before Christ, and after Jesus Christ was born, it's said to be AD. This historical background, it starts from the time when Adam and Eve expelled from Eden Garden. In accordance with the religious, teachings, particularly in the Ethiopian Orthodox Church, it was a time that 5,500 years, ከ5500 ዘመን በኋላ ከልጅ ልጅ ተወልጄ አድናለሁ ባለው መሰረት አዳምና ሔዋን ከገነት ከተባረሩ በኋላ 5500 5499 እያለ የቀነሰ አንድ ላይ ሲደርስ Jesus was born። ስለዚህ ከ5500 እስከ አንድ ያለው BC ስለምንለዋለን። ከአንድ ጀምሮ ደግሞ after the birth of Jesus Christ up to the present, nowadays it is 2023. From 1 up to 2023 it's said to be AD, Anno Domini, which is a Latin word, Anno Domini, which means the year of the Lord. And the other one is BP. In addition to BC and that of AD, we can also use BP to express the duration of events in time. For instance, before 1 million years ago, ከአንድ ሚሊዮን ዓመት በፊት ይሄ ታሪክ የተፈጠረው ከአንድ ሚሊዮን ዓመት በፊት ከ500,000 ዓመት በፊት እያልን እንደምሳሌ የተቀስኩት ነው። ይሄ እያልን መግለጽ እንችላለን። ቢፒ ማለት ነው ካሁን በፊት እንደማለት ነው። ውድ ተመልካቾቼ በሚቀጥለው the writing of history የሚል እቀጥላችኋለሁ። ቅድም እንዳልኳችሁ ብዙ ተመልካች በዚህ ርዕሰ ጉዳይ ላይ ብታስተምር ብሎ ኮሜንት የምትሰጡ ከሆነ በዚህ ርዕሰ ጉዳይ ላይ ተዘጋጅቼ ሰፊ ማብራሪያ ለመስጠት ሞክራለሁ። በሚቀጥለው ግን the writing of history የሚለውን እቀጥላችኋለሁ። እንዲሁም ደግሞ የተለያዩ ጥያቄዎችን በዚሁ ቻናል አስተላልፍላችኋለሁ። መልሱንም በተለያየ ጊዜ ማብራሪያ እሰጣችኋለሁ ማለት ነው። ሰላም ቆዩልኝ።